Welcome back. We are in the Glowing Sea just south of Sentinel Site. This is part 1 of 3 of my player home / base build in my AntiHero playthrough. This part of the build is almost entirely set dressing. This is Relay Outpost Echo. Diesel originally found a reference to it while raiding another Enclave facility. The data unfortunately did not include a exact location, so it still took about a month of scouring the glowing sea in a suit of power armor to find it. So let's dive on in before the Radix wears off and we start to ghoulify. This was Diesel's great white whale. It was the last known location of Dr. Thaddeus Wells, a brilliant Enclave scientist and a name well known to Diesel from files and other data pilfered from other Enclave facilities. The overt function of the outpost was to recover and secure power armor. There were no vertibirds for support at this facility. The commanding officer, Crane, felt they'd be too easily followed back and linked to the outpost. Instead, 3 of a squad of 6 would go out on foot searching for loose power armor, report back if they found some. The other 3 would go to meet them, one in a hazmat suit, the other 2 in power armor, to retrieve them. When Diesel originally found the location, he was able to disable the security measures, but not the blast door because it's on its own power supply. When the facility went dark, the Enclave sent a recon team and found the security officers face down in a pool of blood and vomit, blood coming from the ears, the nose, and even the eyes through this window. The facility was sealed from the inside by electromagnetic locks on this blast door, so they left it sealed and listed it as contaminated and quarantined. And the door is very loud and very fast, so I gave it a second. And this is where the bodies were found when Diesel arrived. That window did not originally have the steel reinforcement. Still took almost 2 days with carefully crafted explosives, a laser, and a suit of power armor to get through that glass. But that's how he gained access. And hopefully with the steel reinforcement it'll be even more difficult if someone else tries. We'll go across the way here to the medical center, the infirmary. Strangely, no bodies found in the medical facility. The medical officer's terminal, the entries end a little under a week before the rest of the entries in other terminals throughout the facility. The medical officer had become suspicious of a compound building up in the population, eventually linking it to the synthetically created food. He makes an entry about confronting Dr. Wells, but that is the last entry in his personal terminal. We've got the quarantine unit, multiple decontamination arches, kind of typical for Enclave personnel who are typically paranoid about exposure to radiation and other pathogens. And outside the door here, we've got the decontamination unit for the hazmat suits used by the recovery teams and storage for them. I'm going to go down a level to the living quarters and general operations. The outpost was originally manned by 2 elite squads of 6. support staff of 6, including the medical officer, commanding officer Crane, Dr. Wells, and his science staff of 4. Wells and his science staff were housed in another part of the facility. We'll head over to the barracks, and there's a set 2, one on each side here, of barracks for the elite group of 6. We've got 3 of the power armor stations there. We've got 3 repair bays for repairs and upgrades. The other 3 power armor stations, and then through here the actual barracks and bathroom facilities. What was of interest to Diesel was the much more hidden agenda, and that's where Dr. Wells comes into play. They were researching and reverse engineering Institute tech. One example we'll be coming to here in a moment, a synth apparently responsible for the maintenance and repair of the food replicator or food synthesizers, was one of the subjects that they were working on. They were able to retrieve data, including schematics. Here we are in the mess hall for the food synthesizer, and up until about 2 months before the facility went dark, they'd been surviving on basically MREs. They won't hunt or grow food from the wasteland, so they were reliant on those MREs and preserved food, of which very little of the preserved food remains. So they were excited about the synthesized food. And we'll head up to the support staff. The barracks are very similar in layout and design. These barracks are set aside for the security officers, the cook, and the medical officer also shared these facilities with them. Again, very similar layout, very similar facilities. Most of the scientific work was being done by Wells' science team. Wells himself had become obsessed with the classical music. Was heard muttering to himself on multiple occasions by other staff about the math in the music. We're going to head over here to Crane, Commanding Officer Crane's personal quarters. Speaking of which, Crane reports in entries that Wells had become increasingly erratic, reclusive, secretive, and distrustful over the weeks preceding the blackout. Further reports of him disappearing for days at a time, returning reeking of body odor, malnourished and dehydrated, oftentimes resorting to using the auto dock to try and repair the damage. Science team continued to work in his absence on retrieving information from synths, and even still working on FEV. Most of the bodies were found on this level. This is the gym. where a lot of the bodies were found. Besides maintaining physical fitness, and also have a firing range over here. Try and maintain their combat skills. And to the right over here, we have the armory, a store of weapons, munitions, and a weapon workshop here, weapon workbench. We've got some more storage, and of course ammunition. We're able to identify Crane, both squads of 6, 2 of which were found in the next level down, doing work on power armor. All of the support staff except for the medical officer. One of the science staff was also on this level, apparently filling in for the missing medical officer. And with no bodies in the medical center, no bodies in the quarantine unit, it was obvious whatever killed everyone happened very, very fast. Let's go ahead and head down one more level. The recovery teams initially focused first on Enclave technology, so a lot of, well, all of this is Enclave power armor. They had a lot of successful forays, as you can tell from the many full storage units here. These also serve as replacement for damaged or destroyed or lost power armor suits for the rest of the population of the outpost. We've got a decontamination unit here for the power armor, storage for parts, everything carefully cataloged and accounted for. We were just beginning to start to work on recovering other power armor tech, T60, etc. But the blackout happened before they'd had very many forays out into the wasteland. So that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you've enjoyed the tour, and in the next episode we'll explore the well. And with that, catchphrase sign off.